Hi, and welcome everyone to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled. Today we are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in beautiful New Orleans. Hello, everyone. It's such a joy to be here with you today on this beautiful day. Weather's finally cooperating a little bit. I hope all of you are having a blessed day as well. And as you just heard, welcome to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled. And today we are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, which is available on FM as well at 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in beautiful New Orleans. So please be sure and join us in one of the various chat rooms to connect with our guest today. I'm sure he would love to hear from you. So we have a very interesting topic today, and across the globe, people are asking difficult questions, which is awesome. Are we witnessing the breakdown of systems that no longer serve humanity? Is this the uncertainty we see around us? Is it a sign of a collapse, or could it be something that's beginning to be entirely new to humanity? So from institutions and structures to consciousness and human potential, many believe we are living through a profound turning point in human history. And that's what today's topic is going to focus on. We'll be exploring ideas surrounding sovereignty, awakening consciousness, and most importantly, the future of humanity and what may emerge as an old paradigm begins to shift. And I am so excited and blessed to have with me today Sacha Stone. He is an international speaker, an author, and a founder known for his work on human sovereignty, consciousness, social transformation, and the evolution of humanity. His work has sparked conversations worldwide, continues to do so, and encouraged people to question long-held systems and beliefs. So as I like to say, enough jibber jabber. Welcome, Sacha.
Very kind of you, Carolaan. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Let me get your banner up and running. So as I said, I'm such a huge fan of your work. We are so blessed to have you on this planet. And if you don't mind, I'm going to be waving to people as they pop on in. Hi, Heidi. So good to see you. So for folks that don't know who you are, which might be a few, tell us about yourself. I kind of gave a little bit of a prelude to the work that you do. So take a few minutes and tell us who you are and the work that you're doing.
I should have sent a rider ahead to preclude you from being able to ask that question to me, because it's the one question I absolutely hate with a passion. I just don't like talking about it. But it's okay. It's a nice existential challenge. My background is a third-generation white African war child growing up in Africa, coming to Europe as a refugee in the late 80s, and then spending really the 90s in rock and roll for about 10 years. That was my mantle, and had some measure of success as an outrider, sort of hard rock band, but close enough to the critical kind of celebrity arena to know exactly the smell of and the taint of that. Kind of echelon, backed the hell out of the devil's contract myself, and then fled to North Africa for 2 or 3 years, lived in between Morocco and Egypt for closer to 3 years, and setting up essentially my peace foundation, Humanitad, which then began doing a hell of a lot of backroom diplomacy work and cultural interfaith kind of dialogue and diplomacy, publishing, setting forth initiatives, endlessly traveling, endlessly meeting with leadership. That was my chosen target, was to deal directly with the man or the woman. I didn't want to be dealing with the third parties. I didn't want to be dealing with ambassadors or bureaucrats, technocrats. I didn't want to be tangling with the status quo in that sense. I wanted to get straight to the leadership, and I had the accesses and exercised those accesses through my own form of networking, and have had the privilege or the curse, I don't know which, of having met with many hundreds of leaders, political leaders, cultural leaders, religious leaders, now royalty, a lot of kings and queens and rajas and sultans and imams and bishops and people in the faiths and people in the hereditary leadership arena. So my particular litmus on humanity comes from two sides of the coin: one, leadership, and the other, grassroots, because I'm foundationally a grassroots frontline activist. And so I don't have any respect for authority, imposed authority or third-party intervention. And I've waged war against that satanic force for now a quarter of a century. And I've had some real measure of success at that. I've taken a lot of rocks at the head, dodged a few very deft silver bullets along the way, as my people who know my work know. But here I am standing, and I have got a big ecosystem around the world on pretty much 4 continents. And we're working right now. The critical focus is on unifying the hereditary leaders of the world and helping to restore hereditary leadership, which is really the echelon of leadership which was usurped by the corporation, which is to say the Babylonian priesthood, which is to say the lower elemental demiurge interventionism that came into this world at that level. So we're talking psycho-spiritual, psycho-civilizational, demonic interpossession, the whole kind of reptilian zeta reticulan hoo-ha game comes into focus here, because that is palpably what is the driving force behind the temporal proxies. The earthly agents of those forces are what we now see as the satanic Saturnian forces that have driven government, banking, and the harvest of humanity, the sacrifice of innocence, which is an industry. It is the prime industry of this earth plane, or has been for the last underpass, the last galactic sleep cycle. But we're awakening from that by the grace of God.
Yes. Oh, you cut out a little bit. Sacha was mentioning,
Am I back on?
yeah, you're back
Am I
on.
back
It's
on?
all good. Go
Very
ahead.
good.
Yep.
Very good. So my work foundationally now is understanding the apparatus of power and of governance, and of re-engineering and re-rigging it so that we remove as much third-party intervention as possible. Right now, we've just launched the new EarthX.com, which is the big end game scenario in terms of creating a parallel financial system for people of the world who wish to step out of the old blood economy, the dragnet of corporate fictions, and how all of our transactions and our abundance and prosperity has been cock-blocked by that priest banker class and the apparatus that's in power. I have some pedigree there. 17 odd years ago, I was a director general at the United Nations, an organization which I do not like, but I did hack in there to understand how the multilateral playing field operates, and I believe I have some real expertise there. And I also bring that expertise to bear in the work that I do now. So I'm very blessed. I travel the world. I have a base in Bali, Indonesia, which I've had for almost 20 years. I have a base here at the Bacalar Laguna in Mexico, one in Tennessee, United States, where we've established the New Earth Micronation there midsummer last year. And in fact, I'll be back there this midsummer in a couple of weeks' time to kind of cut the ribbon on unveiling the master plan there. And we'll be unveiling the timetable for the New Earth Bank, the full bank, going online this year. But most of my time in the last 2 years has been spent in Africa. And Africa is my critical focus because it is the cornerstone of the global economy. And I'm working very closely now with, I can tell you categorically, over 200 of the kingdoms, sovereign kingdoms we are working. In fact, it's over 280 of the sovereign kingdoms. And I'm dealing directly with the kings of kings, the kings and the paramount chiefs. And Africa standing up finally after 500 years of colonialism and blood sacrifice, they're throwing the yoke off this year into next year. And it's the most exciting thing for a third generation white African to be seeing redemption finally landing in the place that I was born, and also finding that I'm also now, one way or the other, positioned to be playing a seminal role in that redemption. So I hope that gives some backstory.
Beautiful. That was perfect. Great answer. I wanted to kind of dive in, and this is a very important topic and being talked about so many platforms on the internet. Why has the ancient control system that has governed humanity since the fall of Atlantis now moved into its final dissolution?
Well, it's Mandelbrottian mathematics, or MSET mathematics, is the model that I've applied for the last 25 years to the phenomenon of departure from the galactic sleep cycle into the galactic day, or the galactic dawn cycle. So moving in from the age of Aquarius into the age of Aquarius from the Piscean age is a reductive way of describing the fact that we're moving now through a photonic band, a photonic cloud of vibral light, which issues essentially through the quantum and the center point of the spiral galaxy of the Milky Way. That's where the breath of God, so to speak, breathes a unique form of plasma, and that plasma eventuates in the galactic plane as being a photon cloud, and that photonic cloud is containing the alpha omega. It's the remembrance of ancient futures. We are now moving through that photon cloud, so to speak, that photonic band, and it's about a 200-year passage through that, but we're well in it. We've passed the threshold event in there, and so we're remembering now the ancient futures. We're remembering the fall of Atlantis. We're remembering that the last time we passed through the photon band, so to speak, an audit was conducted. And right now, as we pass through the photon band, an audit is being conducted. It's a supradimensional, intradimensional, hyperdimensional audit of all sentience, of all that is in the temporal plane, in this galaxy and in this solar system and in this plane of existence that we find ourselves, this Tara, this Earth. And there is a hyperdimensional audit being conducted as this photon band sweeps through this plane. It is literally being impregnated. Every single quark and lepton and subatomic particle is being impregnated by an even finer aspect of light. You could call it the Anu aspect of vibral light. And that is revelation. The mechanics of revelation is actually connected to the geometry of light and the change thereof. So we are now moving through that band. We've crossed through the threshold. We're now remembering what we left behind 12 and a half, 13 odd thousand years ago. It is why pyramids are surfacing all around the world. It is why star forts are emerging all around the world. It is why we're moving from the lateral plane into the vertical plane in all sorts of ways, with drone technology and satellites and rocket ships and all of that. So it's just, again, a coming of age that we've arrived at. But the question really is, what did we learn through the last underpass, the 12, 13,000 year galactic sleep cycle? What did you and I, what did we collectively learn from this underpass? And how much have we learned about the mechanics of absolution, of being able to stand under central sun as God's children and use this incredible God technology, this body temple, to literally be the technology that absolves and redeems, and also brings into the Jacob's ladder of ascension lower realms of expression. And that foundation is what our task is. We are all the Christ, the Messiah in that sense. We all have the aspect of the Sophic and Christic flame, and the Messianic zeal should be in all of us, those of us who have managed to pull our heads out of our ass, or out of scrolling on TikTok, that is.
That is so true. That is so true. You talk about, I've heard you talk about photonic geometry, and there's this light that's already begin to activate. Is that what you were just explaining? That's like awakening our dormant angelic DNA that's inside of every single human being on Earth?
That's a fair way of looking at it. And I'm trying not to be too wordy. And I do understand that I fail most of the time. So what I'm talking about is that this emergent geometry of light that we are now moving into, I'm looking at it right now. I'm literally looking over my screen out the window. And I have birds that
Beautiful.
always join me there whilst I'm doing interviews. But the point is, yes, there is an emergent geometry of light if we are equal to it, if we're able to stand directly under central sun. Now that's a metaphor for standing in pure truth and conducting right action. When you stand under central sun, you revisit creation and you start to see the world through the eyes of a child. You are no longer pejorative and judgmental. You're not
Yes.
condemning and bitching and complaining and wheezing and deriding and downgrading existence. With every time you open your mouth, or every action is an entropic, parasitic action. Time is money, all of that bullshit. If you subscribe to that, and if you offer your life up to time is money, it will devour you, my friend. Cronus, the titan that devours its own young, is the great granddaddy of time, of TikTok, 1260, Vatican tampered time signatures. It is death itself. And we have to be very, very cautious that we step out of time individually and collectively. But yes, to the question, there's a new geometry of light, and the degree to which we can imbibe it and assimilate it and bring it into our body temple will determine the degree to which we find this emergence ecstatic or apocalyptic. It's a choice. Forgive me, that squeaking is my little pup, I'm afraid. I may have to pick her up and put her on my lap if she carries on squeaking in the background.
I have a barker, so if you hear him, he barks at everything. So excuse for that. But yeah, we're dog lovers. So you explain in one of your chats and that I always watch that ascension is not really a spiritual metaphor, but it's a biological process unfolding in real time, and that you have had an unshakable certainty that people alive today will witness the full resurrection of humanity's immortal nature. Is this what we're seeing all over the place? Because everybody is all over social media. They're all talking about this awakening, whether it's political, spiritual. Most everyone seems to be experiencing this.
I'm saying, and I'm not suggesting, I'm stating the fact that there is no separation between spirit and biology. And that is the toxic notion that there is a separation between spirit and the material plane. That's the problem. There is no separation. They're one and the same thing. So the ascension is a biological process in that sense. And I think we're being invited to come back into the cells in our bodies at this time and really revisit how we view creation, not in this, mind, body, soul trifecta, or the causal body and the astral body, the material body, the mental body, the physical body. Come now, this is an absurd way of looking at creation. How about simply nesting all of those into the I am, the witness. I am the Godhead. I am the Son, the daughter of God. I am the living man and the living woman of the living soil. And own that piece, because the I am becomes the witness. The witness cannot judge or condemn. And only when you cease condemnation or judgment are you able to see the world through the eyes of a child. And when you see the world through the eyes of a child, you are able to see the mystery of creation and the magic. The unicorn complex returns only to those who are able to witness the world through the eyes of a child, which is to say, to rekindle your connection to innocence, and to rekindle your connection to your innocence is to rekindle your connection to immanence. And immanence is, again, the alpha omega. It's when we come back into true form as a unified, sentient, angelic indigo. I would call it an angelic indigo, fully realized human being, essentially, which is, incidentally, the cascade of all the galactic linguistics and the galactic genetics, all from the star nations, all cascade down into the earth plane. So the truly actualized angelic indigo human is the galactic genome, We become a confluence of the entire galactic plane. All of those, Pleiadian, Arcturian, Andromedan, Alpha Centaurian, Sirian, all of those intelligences, and the reptilian, all of these are nested into the human technology. And that's our so-called junk DNA, of course. So once our so-called junk DNA becomes activated through our willful actualization, where my will be done, where I reclaim from Jehovah, from Yahweh, I reclaim that totemism, that idolatry of worshiping God outside of self, and recognize that I am the child of God. There is no separation. And only thought and time creates this idea of separation, and that is utterly toxic. But once I return to immanence, to the innate knowing of my connection to my divine mantle, then I'm able to actualize, and in actualizing, I activate the so-called junk DNA. And that just so-called junk DNA is the fractal antenna to all of these supra, hyper, and interdimensional intelligences. So I'm then able to receive so-called downloads from my greater family, my greater constellation of the galactic family, and my true remembrance of the majesty of my soul, with all of those different iterations that I explored over millions of years. All of that now moves in through the quantum to the here and now, to the I am. And that is where we become enlightened, so to speak.
Oh, I love that. During the past 5 years, we've all suffered greatly through all the COVID-19. You talk about that quite a bit. I unfortunately lost my husband to that, not to the jabby jab, but to what they did to him in the hospital. So I was and have been always on my own spiritual awakening and path. But when that hit, it changed something in me. And I think it changed something in a lot of us. What do you say about that?
Well, I said everything that I could say about it 6 months before it happened. So I was screaming about it from the rooftops in June of 2019. I convened the World Health Sovereignty Summit at my home in Bali, in Indonesia. I had Del Bigtree come out, Dr. Robert O. Young. I had Jeffrey Smith. I had Dane Widgington. I had the Bishop of Jerusalem came out. I had the judges from the International Tribunal convened. The King of Kings of Indonesia attended. The police were protecting the proceedings. I staged a World Health Sovereignty Summit. And I called out, leant into the camera and called out the satanic forces that were about to throw a dragnet across humanity, because we knew what was going to happen. Again, Del Bigtree is the man behind Bobby Kennedy for the last, 20 odd years, however long they've worked together in exposing this satanic agenda. I have a lot of background, high-end backroom diplomacy that has also taught me many years ago about Anthony Fauci and, of course, Bill Gates, and who these archetypes are. And they're the least of, well, not the least of them, but they're not the most important characters. They're the kind of front of house characters. But the point being, this so-called Babylonian priesthood, midnight Mason clique that has been driving a foundational agenda to depopulate the planet from 7 to 8 billion people to, somewhere around 400, 500 million. That's been the wet dream of these satanic forces. And God knows they came close to succeeding. But the business of mRNA and DNA intervention through synthetic molecules being pumped through needles into people's arms, that was a very uniquely insidious plan. Again, we knew it was going to happen. We called it out 6 months before. All too few people listened. And then, sure enough, January, February of 2020, the proverbial shit hit the fan. And there it was. So for that year, many people will attest, I was one of the first voices to start screaming from lockdown. I was in Bali at the time, and I convened the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into Corona, at that time with the Chief Justice and the Associate Justices of the International Tribunal. And we brought forth, Dr. Sherry Tenpenny and Dr. Judy Mikovits and Tom Rentz and Rashid Buttar and all of these great, noble, leading voices and advocates against the vaccine program. I can't remember, 40 or 50 of them came forth, and we took all the testimonies online. And then, of course, the moment the lockdowns ended, I was on a plane to the United States to drive the Arise Resurrection tour, which I'd crafted around my friend Robert David Steele, the former CIA spook. And we began that tour. He went mad, unfortunately, and so I peeled off with Scott McKay and Lee Dundas, and all the other speakers all joined our tour. And we finished our tour. I think 7 people died in the duration of the tour, right up till the end. It was a very sad business getting through that tour. It was an extraordinary alchemizing process for many of us. But what were we doing across Middle America? Lighting a match, really trying to inflame the heart of Middle America to wake up from this satanic thrall, because that's what it was. It was witchcraft. Absolutely. In the same way that 9/11, Gog and Magog, that was a witchcraft. Which was casting a thrall over humanity and throwing us into a psycho-civilizational dissonance and dystopia. So, yeah, we did that tour. And then subsequent to that, I've toured every year in America on my own dime, coast to coast, to try to maintain the same steadiness. But at the same time, bringing forward templates and blueprints for the new earth horizon, as I call it, this new earth that is now arriving, this kingdom of heaven that we are anchoring to this plane. So I'm leaving behind the kind of activism side, and I've started to move a lot more into the solutions over the last few years, and that's been my shtick up till now.
Wonderful. It still shocks me that over 7 billion people fell for that. Just the whole protocol. But hopefully this time around they won't. I mean, because we know they're going to try that again. So,
well, respectfully, I'm not sure, Carolaan, that 7 billion people did fall for it at all. That's not my take. I think a hell of a lot less than that fell for it. I would say, by my reckoning, and I'm a fairly good litmus on this because I literally travel nonstop. And I'm meeting thousands and thousands of people each year. When I tour, as people attest at my tours, I speak afterwards. I'm around for an hour or two to talk and take hands with everyone, hug people, learn from people, listen to people. And my litmus, and it's not that I'm preaching to the choir. I speak to veterans. I speak to professional class. I speak to radical activists. It's kind of across the farmers, farmers, people of the soil, housewives. It's a full gamut. And then, of course, I'm also well known for my one toe in Hollywood and Monte Carlo. So I'm also, I'm still connected at that level to the celebrity spheres and to that kind of fringe Illuminati, as I call them jokingly. So I also have my hand in there and have those conversations at those kind of more liberal intellectual dinner parties. And there are a lot of radical people who are hiding inside those liberal enclaves, I can tell you. But the point I'm making is I'm having a consistent conversation with thousands upon thousands of people. And what I get out of it is that about 1/3 of humanity bought into COVID-19.
Wow, that's great.
And about two-thirds did not buy into it, but felt powerless or were powerless to apprehend it.
Yeah, that's good. That's very, I don't know why they're saying all that many people. I guess it's another tactic of theirs, but that's good news.
Carolaan, they say that because if a Republican wins the election with only 51 to 49%, people will say America have chosen the Republicans. That's not true. 51% of America may have, 49% are seriously pissed off. So no, it's never reflective. And anyway, we're at a point now where we simply have to unplug altogether from mainstream media narratives and mainstream academia narratives as well.
Yeah, legacy news too. It's all toxic shit.
Right.
So, yeah. You talk about the 3 pillars of the new earth, and I love that. and they are jurisdiction, technology, and fellowship. Can you kind of expound on that for folks?
Well, one, can I just applaud you? Thank you for that, for
Oh,
zeroing in on that algorithm, because it's the first time anyone's done that in an interview. And I do interviews maybe 5, 6 a week normally.
thank you.
And I've not had anyone mention that, which breaks my heart, because that is the quintessence. It's the
Yes.
axis of what I've been trying to put out there, which is an understanding that the world is chaotic, and one could look at the world as a complete dystopian tailspin, a cataclysmic chaos storm. You can look at it that way, or you can stop being enchanted or entranced by that delusion, and instead step into, again, to immanence, to knowing. What is it that you know? What is it that you can touch and feel? What you can see? This becomes so important, which is why I speak about the body temple. We have to get back into our skin, back into our bodies. We've become very disembodied as a species. People are stoned, are disassociated, are dysregulated, are escaping from just the business of being in the now. And it's a sacred crime that we're committing by not connecting just with the here and now and seeing the perfection of the geometry of everything. I mean, I'm looking around me right now, and everything I'm looking at is perfect, always and always. Now, I know that to be so. I'm suffering from a broken heart right now. Doesn't matter. That's okay. That's okay. You work with that. You know,
Yes.
I have certain apprehensions and misgivings about the future. I'm okay to sit with that and work with it. But I appreciate and acknowledge that everything is perfect always and always. So that is the only reason why I've earned the privilege of being in this state of witness, the I am. And that brings with it this huge benediction. And the benediction is here, Carolaan, that it helps me to reduce the chaos storm into very, very single focus elements. Jurisdiction, technology, fellowship is an algorithm of how we step out of the kingdom of the devil and how we reclaim and restore full autonomy and sovereign jurisdiction. Now, that cannot be overstated, how important that is, to claim jurisdiction. What does that mean? It means that I stop taking the knee to Caesar
Yes.
and rendering unto Caesar. One, I cease and desist from any continued play forward with the satanic checkerboard of the kingdom of the devil as it relates to harvesting my time and my emotion, my life force, my signature, my autograph. All of that I must withdraw. I must no longer fill out those forms with block black capital letters.
Yes.
I must understand that to reclaim jurisdiction is a process where every thought and every action needs to be policed by me. Am I participating on the kingdom of the devil with this next action, or am I not? That becomes a means by which you literally start to disassociate yourself from the kingdom
Yes.
of the devil. At the same time, that entrains the mind to step away from the meta mind control technology that's going on, the programming, the cult programming. At the same time, that helps you to become so much more vigilant, hyper vigilant, to the extent that you flame a new form of chemistry. And this is hard science here. This is plasma chemistry. You flame a new form of chemistry which cleanses you from the inside out. It will literally remediate the aluminum, the barium, the phosphates, the sulfate, the strontium, the fluoride, the weaponized 5G and plus weaponized frequencies, the nanoparticulates. All of these elements are satanic, synthetic geometry, molecules. They can all be qualified, literally qualified with the flaming of the Christic and Sophic flame. That's a fact now. That's called phase conjugation. This is the real science of the actualization, the activation of the angelic indigo. We don't need to worry about the threat or the perceived threat out there any longer, because we can eradicate that threat by activating the armor of God. It's as simple as that. So jurisdiction is essential. Then the technology piece in that trifecta of jurisdiction, technology, and fellowship, it's established jurisdiction. And also as it relates to your farm, your home, your vehicle. Do the paperwork, fill out the forms, learn, fill out the use of the right forms, give the right notices, step outside of the contract, the compact with the US Treasury Department, with the IRS, with all of these interposed elements. Learn how it does nowadays. You can do it in days and a couple of weeks. Because of AI, you've got your lawyer on the end at your telephone. You've got ChatGPT is your lawyer. So you can now do incredible amounts of research on this, get the right filings and notices made, step outside, reclaim your bond, your birth bond, all of that stuff. So establish yourself now as the living man, living woman. That's jurisdiction. Get your house and your farm and your family into a trust and get them the hell out of the corporation dragnet. So we can all do that stuff. That's jurisdiction. Move across now to technology. Start to implement and apply technology. Technology is, I'm drinking every day half a kilogram of ginger, 5 limes, and a lot of fresh mint and crushed ice. And that's whizzed up in a NutriBullet, and that's what I'm drinking. So that's a technology. And tomorrow I will be doing a watermelon, beets, and lemon, and ice, and nothing else. And that's a liver cleanse, a liver detox. That is a technology. And so I'm saying, get to grips with what technology really is. Step away from the fantasia of the idea of technology with space rockets and things that go bang, and get into the real technology, how you can grow the right things. I'm growing right now in my garden downstairs an incredible plant called lion's ear, which was taught to me recently by Pentagon level intelligence folk who are friends of mine, who I went to see, and they did a technology transfer, showed me that a given plant needs to get to Africa, needs to get to the developing world very quickly, because it is a plant that can eradicate the Ebola, the COVID, all of these different weaponized pathogens can be eradicated literally with 2 leaves of the plant in 2 separate cups of tea. It's a plant which you pick the leaf off, steep it in the tea, drink it. 6 hours later, do the same again, and that's it. You erase the malaria pathogen. You erase the biggest killers on earth will have no traction on you. Now, that's a technology. It's a botanical technology, and we're now getting ready to springboard that through our agricultural friends and the royal establishments in Africa, for instance. So that's what I'm saying. Get to grips with what technology really is. Start to implement it in your life, in your communities, the way you grow food, the way you power up your own energy systems using Tesla technology. Anyone with a running stream can now have all the lights on in the house. You can literally go onto YouTube and follow, get some wire and some cardboard and bits of plastic, and you can rig together your own turbines. I'm just saying, we've got a lot more advanced technology than that, obviously, and my group is certainly incubating very advanced technologies. But the point is, jurisdiction, establish that. Technology, get to grips with what that really means. It means we have the means now to do anything, grow anything, make anything very, very quickly and effectively and affordably. And then the bit about fellowship, and then we should all be doing that in our communities, and then trading these things one to each other. And then the fellowship piece is the cornerstone, is the most important, because the fellowship is where that functioning jurisdiction and that functioning technology ecosystem with technology transfer and knowledge transfer is now activating the entire community into a morphogenetic flaming of prosperity, of wellness, of consciousness, of upshift. That is the technology. That's the highest God technology, the activation of fellowship into a morphogenetic flame. And that becomes the spiral of so-called ascension. And the return to immanence is also the return to immortality. And we're on the threshold of that happening in our age.
Oh, I love that, Sacha. Isn't that what you're doing with New Earth Horizons, that you're building these communities based on those?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Yes. We're
Brilliant.
doing the one in in the United States, the one in Mexico, we began before we'd established the jurisdiction, and that's been a bit of a shit show development. It's righting itself now. It's beautiful. Our land is stunning. The project is proceeding, but we got tripped up horribly with the compliances and regulations and corrupt bureaucracy, and also, kind of infighting with people in the community who came too soon on the ground. Whole bunch of factors which one learns from, but that's fine. In Bali, we've got our New Earth Haven's been up and running for many years, and it's a mecca. It's a mecca for people from all around the world. We've got New Earth Tanasi, which we did the consecration and proclamation event last midsummer. With all the constitutional sheriffs and military intelligence folk, and Scott McKay, Patriot Street Fighter, turned up Laura Eisenhower, Dr. David Martin, a number of the Cherokee, Hopi, and other hereditary leaders. Many of the hereditary leadership from around the world came in on the big screen. Some of the kings of kings. It was powerful stuff. We were basically consecrating the soil. The grandmothers, of course, led that consecration ceremony on the eve of midsummer. It was insanely powerful stuff. Lights appeared in the sky. Of course they did. Some of the locals were kind of firing off their guns in the hills around us to threaten us. They're going to run us out of town because there'd been some scurrilous journalists going in months before to try and tell the local people that Sacha Stone runs a sex cult and is coming to rape your granddaughters or some such nonsense. But some people believed that bullshit, and they were, like bristling with their guns. But I think the following day we did the proclamation event, a 5-hour live broadcast, and I had Sheriff Richard Mack with his badges and guns sat next to me, in his uniform, and we had our own guns, a lot of them, believe me, on that day. And Scott McKay with his hatchet, no one's going to fuck with him. So we had a wonderful grouping there of people. We did a 5-hour proclamation, which was broadcast worldwide, and that was done. That was law. We had returned the land back to the Genesis Treaty of the First Nation peoples and reestablished the jurisdiction outside of the war powers. And that's very consequential what we did. It was very important alchemy. And I go back again in 2 or 3 weeks' time for the next event, unveiling the master plan as we move that project forward. But again, that's jurisdiction, technology, and fellowship all coming and interlocking together into what you could loosely call a micronation, although we're moving away from that language. It just is, it's an isness. It's a community that is under its own jurisdiction, its own law. In that sense, it's all protected by our ecclesiastical diocese. I'm the presiding elder of a church, in that sense, an ecclesiastical diocese, a universal trust. And there's about 2 or 3 dozen universal trusts nested within the New Earth Coalition. Each of them are having different land holdings around the world, different technologies and IP. And that's how we're moving forward. We've emulated in that sense, we've emulated the Catholic Church or the Vatican and its ecclesiastical protections and privileges. We've now assumed those as our own under true form law, and we are unstoppable in that sense. And we now conduct treaties, State Department to State Department, when I'm going in to talk to a royal establishment about land holdings or even to a government. So it's getting exciting. We're setting the precedent for the way the world is going to be disengaging and disassociating itself from the parent corporation, breaking back down into decentralized models of coherent, autonomous self-governance and autonomous exchange as well, which is where the New Earth X comes in. Yeah.
Blessings for all that work that you're doing. It's incredible. I also wanted to talk more about your vision for New Earth Micronation, which we kind of touched on before, currently being established in Africa, where you're using free energy, natural, all the things we just spoke about. And that's going to replace every system humanity is currently trying to escape from, right? So is Africa like your beta test for this, so to say?
Well, thank you for the question. Tennessee is also a beta test. What we're doing in Asia is a beta test. But in Africa, it's on a much, much bigger scale. So we're in negotiated positions now with multiple venues and governments and royal establishments in that part of the world. I'll make announcements later this year about it. I was hoping to be able to make announcements by midsummer, but it's too soon. Things are always somewhat slower, certainly in Africa, than one would wish. But we're having extraordinary conversations. I've addressed parliaments on a number of occasions. I've addressed scores of the kings on the ground in person, and many hundreds of them over Zoom and on interactive meetings. So we're at a point where we are looking to create the perfect model, which as it docks and lands in Africa will almost immediately replicate or cookie cut, syndicate to other nations, to become almost like a hubs of light set within all of these countries. And each of these satellites have the same jurisdiction, the same free zone, economic free zone status, and have the and are operating under the same jurisdictions, which is the New Earth Coalition. But each of those hubs becomes the knowledge transfer and the technology transfer to the greater nation or the greater royal establishment or the greater kingdom. So that's the negotiated stance, which is going very, very well. And yes, it's integral connection to hemp cannot again be understated. We've got agricultural hemp underway in Africa. We've got thousands and thousands of farms lined up within an umbrella, ready to adopt the rapid implementation of agricultural hemp. And we're looking at now the business modeling of bringing in the hemp trains. Trains means to say the machinery required to do all of the separation of hemp into the bast fibers, the microfibers, the oil, all the different elements. We can also extract graphene from hemp. So the point being that for Africa, we're able to redeem the African economy from any country and probably eradicate 95 to 97% of all foreign imports within 3 to 5 years if they do adopt wholesale, full spectrum New Earth hemp industry. So it's a means of bringing the world back to bioresonance, cutting out the middleman, the shipping, the logistics, all of that nonsense, and just getting people in Africa to be able to take the price of a wheelbarrow from $99 down to 99 cents, which is what it should be.
Brilliant.
And a ladder should be down from $25 to 25 cents. And an automobile should be taken down from $7,000 to $500. So that's all doable once we fully implement the hemp industries into the glass, into the metal, into the rubber and the plastics. Remember that hemp is 11 times stronger than steel. I'll leave it at that. We can build rocket ships with them. In fact, we are launching New Earth Aerospace, which is connected more to airplanes, regional airlines at the moment. I'm not allowed to say anything on that yet, but it is happening. It's underway, unifying different regional airlines under New Earth's banner with certain flight paths and integrating greater technologies into the aerospace industry, but also floating ships, these airships. And that's something which we are very, very serious about advancing. So we've got top tier technology partners actually from Israel, who are our engineering technology partners. And we've got governments in Europe who are prepared to finance that particular venture forward. I can't say anything beyond that right now, but we also have at least, I think last week was 2 orders of our airships from one of the governments in South Africa already, the Malawi government. So we know that bringing hemp ethanol fueled, hemp fabricated, locally farmed and manufactured and fabricated airships eradicates the biggest problem in Africa, which is logistics, freight, cargo, logistics, even passengers and safaris and all of that can be done by aerial, because the maintaining of roads and bridges and infrastructure in Africa is an absolute nightmare. And once that
on that ship, I saw what you went through on that ship that you had to travel with and it was like rat infested and everything.
Oh God,
that was crazy.
That was something else. I mean, I've done some dangerous stuff in my life, and that was smelly and dangerous.
I was like, I felt like your pain as you were going through that. It seemed, what was that, like 3 days or something?
It was beyond the bowels of hell, but it was moving across Lake Malawi, which is an inland sea, on a ship that's 100 years old, that was carrying 20 times more people than it's licensed to, with rusty board. I mean, it was just insane and completely infested, the most stinking place imaginable, and crammed full of people and suffocating. So it was a horrendous journey, but we wanted to make it, and we wanted to see how the other half live in that sense, these blessed people, and how they're forced to travel or perish. It was like slavery back in the 1600s in the bowels of a galleon ship. That's how it felt. It was so horrendous.
Oh, I think he's having a little bit of Wi-Fi problems. We'll wait for that to reset. I did watch that whole video with
Right.
Sacha. There you go.
Well,
You're back.
the net is that we're engaging with land on that island. We've engaged already with the chiefs, and we have some ambitions there to bring a micronation satellite there, especially with an emphasis on being able to heal people and fly people in from all around the world, as well as from Africa, to heal them in a zone which doesn't preclude the use of all of these anti-cancer treatments that we've got. We know how to heal pretty much every disease on earth. We just need a jurisdiction in which we can do it without being messed with by the so-called authorities. So that's what that is. That's a template project for that. But also part of the net of that trip, Carolaan, is that we did get the licenses now to be able to bring our own boats onto that lake and also create some flight paths as well. So we'll have some fun there, I'm sure.
Brilliant. You're spot on with the hemp. I mean, isn't that why that a lot of governments made it illegal? Because they knew about its potential. With CBD is the same thing.
Well, I'll tell you how that scandal conspiracy unfolded. It was the 1937 Marijuana Tax Act, which was essentially implemented by the usual Rockefeller Rothschild interests, the plastics and oil barons, oil and gas barons, who bought Congress, essentially forced through the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937. And overnight, every farmer in America who had been by law farming a minimum of 200 acres of hemp, every farmer in the US, that was outlawed overnight. So that destroyed and broke the back of hemp overnight, because those devils, those bankster devils, could see that hemp was evolving so quickly. People were learning through the material science that hemp could build airplanes, it could build ships, it could build tanks, it could build anything. Now, of course, we know it can build telephones and computers as well. So they knew that that was going to threaten the oil and gas hegemony. And so the 1937 Marijuana Tax Act was introduced. And of course, they psyoped America into demonizing marijuana because it was destroying families and communities. Bullshit. And that was it. So marijuana taken down, turned into a criminal drug, and then the hemp industry destroyed. And of course, that simply franchised to every other idiot country in the world that was adopting the same bullshit statutes that were being spat out of Washington's asshole. And that, unfortunately, is what's happened in the last 100 years. Is Washington sets the precedent, or the British Parliament sets the precedent, or Rome sets the precedent, or now Brussels sets the precedent, and then it becomes a franchise around the world, and every government clicks their heels and reflexes and adopts the same godless policies overnight. That's been the real problem with globalism, is the harmonizing of policy.
Unbelievable. Why do you think that they are so out there with what they're calling the revelation of the method, where they have to show us what they're doing and saying, whether it's through movies, music, and showing how boldly satanic they are?
Well, that's eyes wide shut. Again, that's a spirit technology you're describing here. In order to fully own the outcome of witchcraft, in that sense, the perpetrator needs to get the permission from God's children.
Yes, exactly.
And so we are subverted or coerced or programmed or, in that sense, drugged into offering ourselves up for sacrifice. That becomes integral to the success of these demonic reptoidal elements being able to suck the life force out of us, because it has to be, it's all permission granted, like everything else in the universe. Everything in this universe is permission permission based. Nothing happens without permissions. That's why I've been proselytizing the fact that the armor of God is thy will becoming my will and thy will be done becomes the actualization principle. So stop looking at a God outside of yourself. Start to receive the immanent Christ within, which is the true message of the beloved man from Nazareth. And once we've done that, we activate the armor of God. And then we're able to, my will be done. We're able to then create, affirm, manifest in this world, anchor patterns of perfection, and thereby realize the fulfillment of God's greatest desire, which is our greatest desire, which is to manifest heaven on earth. And heaven on earth means biological ascension. Think about it, friends.
Gosh, that's so true. Sorry, just looking at the comments. I thought we had a question here. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's pretty crazy how when you think about that, what you said is so true, that everything is permission based. They need our permission to do these things to us. So it's good to be aware and awake of that. Why do you think that awakening, at least for me and a lot of people on this network and people I speak to, feel alone, feel more alone in this awakening? And it's not like alone where there's no people around you. It's like a deep seated loneliness where you feel separated from those that are not. And it's challenging to deal with. It's very painful in a way.
Well, if you say so, and I'm not being churlish, but look, I'm going to be hard here. I'm going to give hard medicine. I'm going to give really hard medicine. The one who is still blighted with the trial of separation is somebody who has not suffered sufficiently through the trial of separation.
Right.
That's the medicine right there.
Yeah.
Once we've had enough sufferance, then we realize that the trial of separation was only ever imposed through the mental body. It's an idea, it's a thought. So we exile ourselves based on a thought, and that thought is a cage. And I understand that thought is connected to some kind of muscle memory reflex, connected to ancient traumas or whatever. 3 words: get over it.
Yeah.
So that's hard medicine. And I say it to myself. And that's how I got myself out of any notion that I'm a victim of circumstance, or that the trial of separation has become so, impossible a journey of loneliness and solitude. Yes, it did and was. And here I am, thriving in my middle age. I'm on my own again in life, in the middle of nowhere here, with a little rat masquerading as a chihuahua. Or vice versa, and a little miniature white horse out the back there. My gardener Tony comes in the morning and the evenings to water the lawn. My cleaner Olga comes in to make the bed and to clean the dishes and pick up after me and the pup. And other than that, I am literally on my own out here. I have no friends, no circle, and thank God, have the internet, and I'm able to do my work, and I'm talking to the whole world. Because I'm creating that, I'm manifesting that reality. And so I'm blessed that I'm living through the digital spheres and having a very, very exciting life. And we're building a whole new economy and a whole new financial and banking system. And we're restoring hereditary nations and peoples together under God's grace. And we're establishing, jurisdictions and creating beautiful things. And I conduct the Lazarus Initiative once a month, the symposium, speaking to some of the world's greatest thought leaders and scientists and innovators. So I'm blessed. I'm alone and I'm lonely, and I go to bed at night alone and lonely. But that's not the thing. Again, I've just got to see the geometry of now, and it's not what I wanted. I don't want to be alone. I would rather. I'd rather have a loving relationship in that sense, but there's also problems there, attendant issues there. And I've just got to a point in life where I give the same medicine to people that I give to myself. We are on the cusp of a return to immanence, a return to immortality. We are all going to be able to fully engage systemic age reversal. It's already begun, incidentally. We're able to extend life limitlessly already, incidentally. I know we're dealing with that science and with those chemists and doctors right now in-house. So I know what's happening in the laboratory. So I know the extrapolation from the genome of the mice in the laboratory to the human genome in the next 12 months, 24 months. I know that we can extend life 200-300 years. I know that we can systemically age reverse now 55-60% of whatever your standing start is. We're there already. So that tells me that within the next a year to 2 years, that technology beneficence is going to be coming through the gate of the new earth. I know, because these things always come and land near us and near me, and we'll be bringing them forward into this new jurisdiction of the kingdom of heaven, so to speak. And as we do that, we will be able to begin to play life the way we used to dream about playing life, all the way that we thought we wanted life to become before the drudgery kicked in, before the wage slavery kicked in, before the cancer or the, diabetes kicked in. Whatever, we have all been assailed by the so-called realities of life, which robbed us of our beautiful childish dreams. But I think I don't think, I know we're at a threshold now where we're able to now, number one, look at ourselves and say, was that dream back in 1970s or 80s or 90s, was that the dream, the absolute dream? Or retrospect, what is my even greater dream now? And we'll be able to manifest those dreams. Just looking at a meme earlier today, Carolaan, watching a bunch of postal workers clapping wildly as one of these Optima robots, or one of these Chinese robots, sorted through 250,000 packages in a couple of hours, right? In the postal, literally the robot was stood there with arms and legs, and the packages were coming on the conveyor, and it was doing the work. And behind him were all the people who are going to be out of work in a year from now because of these robots, clapping like whoop. And I'm thinking to myself, that's a tragic comic little frame there on the one hand. On the other hand, I joined those people in celebrating this, because human beings should not be sorting packages. That is not a lifestyle. That is not a vocation to be proud of. That is not a career choice to be proud of. It's wage slavery and drudgery that people are forced into circumstantially. So I am very happy about the onset of AI. I could write now a thesis on the positive and affirmative aspects of AI, and also robotics. Does not frighten me in the least bit. I'm more than happy to cherry pick elements of the so-called smart city complex and bring them into the new earth to service our needs, and to be able to do the more mundane tasking, so that people in the new earth communities or micronations are able to work only 4 or 5 hours a week, maybe 7 hours a week at the most. And the rest of the time is on them. They could either ponder their navel and become bodhisattvas, or they could go out and sculpt and paint and craft or explore and adventure. And there's so much to be doing in this world. None of us should be doing jobs. And the word job should be excised from the lexicon within 5 years. And I can tell you for nothing that in the new earth, 0-point economy, with true cost economics fully functioning, there will be no such thing as a job.
Wow, I hope I'm still on this planet when that happens. I really do.
Well, if you're planning on leaving in the next 3 years, but if you're planning on being here in the next 3 to 5 years, you'll be here.
Oh, good. No, I'm not planning. You talked before about the Lazarus principle, which is ego, death, rebirth, and reclaiming innocence. Can we dive into that a little bit more?
Sure. Well, I was speaking about the Lazarus Symposium and the Lazarus Initiative, which I started in 2020, actually 2021, just as COVID lockdown ended. I kicked off the Lazarus Initiative at the same time as I was heading off to launch the Arise Resurrection Tour, which then morphed into the Arise Freedom Tour in America. But that Lazarus Initiative, which is thundering along right now, and every month I host another symposium, which is normally 5, 6, 7 hours long. And we have sometimes half a dozen, sometimes a dozen different speakers and panelists coming on Again, thought leaders, consciousness leaders, innovators, geometers, mathematicians, archaeocosmologists, all sorts of people, very progressive thinkers. And we are exploring what it is and what it takes to resurrect ourselves from the deep sleep. And so
Mm.
everything connected to that. I started 5 years ago with investigating Morgellons syndrome because I wanted to understand. I've been involved with Morgellons syndrome for 17 years, maybe 18 years, 19 years, a long time.
Wow.
Long time. I've known about Morgellons, been involved with it. And when I say involved with it, what I mean is investigating it and up close and personal, having universities and laboratories involved in the science of forensic analysis of self-replicating nanodiodes and nanobots and V2K, voice to skull technological intervention,
Yeah.
all of these diabolical, nefarious technologies that have been implanted,
Yeah.
alien implants as well, very much a part of it.
Yes.
That was also
Yes.
connected to the judicial commission I launched into human trafficking, because alien implants and is part of trafficking. Alien abduction is human
Yes.
trafficking. So it's a fascinating subject, but Lazarus is really the full tilt exploration, inquiry, and investigation into what it is and what it requires for us to awaken ourselves from
Mhm.
the great sleep, from the death state. And that's what Lazarus is proving moving forward, and will continue to do so. I have no plans to take it offline at this time.
Brilliant. I heard Joni Mitchell has Morgellon syndrome. I don't know. I heard
Yes.
a lot of people are
Yes.
suffering
Well,
from.
she would, and maybe if she were to yank her head out of her liberal intellectual arse, she
Yeah.
might redeem herself in the flame of pure truth to be able. We all love Joni Mitchell. Don't get me wrong. I
Yeah.
absolutely adore, worship the woman, but she's an idiot, class liberal intellectual. Hates on everything real that's happening because she's
Yeah.
been completely sucker punched through her lifetime of celebrity and fame
Absolutely.
into that liberal intellectual enclave where they all think they know what's what. And
Right.
they're so lost in the source, it's
Yeah.
terrifying.
Yeah.
Ladies and
It
gentlemen,
is.
I give you the east and west coast of the United States,
Yeah. Yeah. Jeez.
Mm.
I wanted to ask you, since everyone is talking about disclosure and Trump has opened the website aliens.gov, and they're releasing all this footage now. Where does this fit into our ascension? Is it just all bullshit? Like, what are we being fed with this UAP disclosure?
Well, I mean, I am one of those voices who predicted in 2020, in 2020, I came out first, and on the record saying that at the end of this COVID era,
Hmm.
it was essentially a stepping stone toward ET disclosure, and because the mRNA DNA intervention of these synthetic molecules is extraterrestrial technology. So we're talking about alien invasion. The alien invasion began with the needles. And in
Yes.
fact, they began many years before with nanobot technology that was being implemented again through Anthony Fauci's office and the
Hmm.
presidency of Bush Senior,
Yep.
forgive me, Bush Junior, with the H1N1 vaccine program. That's when it began. I know this, and I've sat down in my own living room with U.S. Supreme Command military brass in uniform in my living room, having this conversation because they came to me for advisement
Wow.
on the subject in 2018. Just weeks after the judicial commission that we launched there, because I have information relating to Fauci's office. That's why I put the son of a bitch on trial with Robert Kennedy in February of 2021 on that mock
Brilliant.
trial that we did focus on Fauci, because I've known for a long, long time, long before COVID, long before Obama, what the deal was, what was going on with synthetic molecules and with the vaccine program. And not just vaccine, it's also connected to Coca-Cola, it's connected to other big brand
Oh, yeah.
exercises
Yeah.
all around the world. And I've known, because I've sat down even with the bosses of those companies to talk about the problem, the peril that's happening existentially within their own company. So it's a fascinating story, and it's all going to come to a head. And of course, I've completely forgotten the genesis of your question.
Oh, what you thought about disclosure? Is it
Yeah,
like what?
gotcha.
What are we being fed?
Alien invasion began with COVID. With the vaccination program was alien invasion beginning, but obviously the story of disclosure is connected more to the weaponization of our governments, connected to the Dulles brothers, the CIA, and of course prior to them the Majestic 12. So Majestic 12, CIA, but that also is birthed through the Pilgrim Society and the Bilderbergers and the Council of Committee of 300, and there are other enclaves. Even the Privy Council to the Crown in England, you have Midnight Masons who have always been privy to this information, and they're locked also in academia. You have these treacherous old CUNTs who are professors, PhDs in Harvard, in Princeton, in Yale, in Oxford, in Cambridge, in MIT. So you always had these Midnight Masons who've been locked inside high echelon academia. Same with Disney and with Hollywood, MGM, Universal. I've known some of these sons of bitches myself personally over the years, sat down with them, and they're a unique class of Sabbatean filth, incidentally, who are responsible for so much evil in this world. But they're the guys who are controlling the rock and roll industry, the film industry, and so on and so forth. So those Sabbatean Midnight Mason class secret society members who are operating as the Jesuit class, conveying information and protocols and financing, because in the financial sector as well, you have this class, this echelon of Midnight Masons, and they've got their finger on the trigger, on the pulse, and on the buttons that can open flash screens from one central bank to another. So there's all sorts of movement of gold, of drugs, of human trafficking, children, of money, of digital currency. All of these things are still more or less being contained by these devils. Who are these devils? These devils are, through occultic ceremonies and blood rites, connected to nefarious extraterrestrial intelligences. So-called demonic possession is an interface between the lower elemental extraterrestrial dimensions and the temporal dimensions. So be clear, we've always had extraterrestrial intervention in that sense. Why? Well, because we are the ET, as I said at the beginning. We are the galactic hybrid in any event. But the nefarious extraterrestrial is a parasite class that has been sucking the life force, the prana, out of the earth plane for a very, very long time. And that now comes to an end. I did predict that by the end of the kind of COVID era, full disclosure would be underway. About 15 years ago, I was having Stephen Bassett and leading figures in exopolitics and what have you at my home in London. I was hosting salons, making introductions between them and other important people, sometimes parliamentarians or religious leaders, what have you. That's been my way of doing what I call backroom diplomacy. I did a lot of salons at my home in London over many, many years. But that was a time before I came out public speaking. And I've kind of shifted from doing it behind the curtain to now just speaking overtly in the public domain. But where does it take us? Where does it lead us? Well, it's taking Alpha Omega back to the kiss of Alpha Omega. It's a necessary and needful exercise in awakening from the deep sleep. I am not surprised by anything any longer. I've had my own interactions with so-called extraterrestrials. I've had my own interactions with UFOs, and I've had direct forensic connection to in the laboratory with alien artifacts and out-of-place artifacts, alien technologies that my foundation were pulled into. I've studied alien bones and relics and remnants. More recently, my community know that because I published that internally to my Lazarus community. But there's nothing out there that shocks me particularly. Now, I just can't wait for the year 2030, which is when every human on Earth will know absolutely that we are the galactic hybrid. And once that happens, as I said earlier, there is a morphogenetic flaming of the collective human
Yeah.
awakened, actualized heart. That becomes the trigger point of the spiral of ascension, or the Jacob's ladder. That's the bit I'm looking forward to. So between 2030 and 2032 would be the compression point of that, as we convene relationship with the Galactic Confederation, so to speak, to use that rather tired expression, but it is real enough. So the Confederation of Worlds and the human race will be in full convention. Certainly at this stage, from where we see now, so-called time, 2032 is where it is fully wrapped. And then from 2032 to 2046, by my reckoning, we have full tilt quantum leap toward the vertical ascension event. And I've been saying this now for about 3 years, maybe 4 years on the record, that it is 2046 as dateline zero. I know I'm right, or I know I've been right. And what happened last week or the week before, whatever his name is, the big honcho from Google, Schmoogle, the guy who predicted AI before anyone else, the big prophet from Silicon Valley, Schmidt or whatever his name is. That guy came out a week or two ago and said, by all of his calculus, 2045 is the singularity point for humanity. He said we hit the singularity in 2045, end of 2045. And he said the way he expressed it was that technology and humanity become one. It's an okay way of describing it. I don't mind that description, because I'm not afraid of technology. I'm not afraid of robotics, and I'm not afraid of AI, because I still command all of those three things, and will always ever command it. But I thought it was very interesting that the great master himself came out and said 2045. And I'm the only person I know who's been saying 2046 on the record. But I know I'm right, that 2046 we hit a vertical upshift, which is really, I would imagine that is the biological ascension. Certainly I'll be a very old man at that time. And I believe I'll be a very, very old man inhabiting probably a 32 or 33-year-old body. My body, and I've got a good body. I believe we will have a return to immanence happening biologically between now and then. I don't think, I know. Whenever I say something, I know it or I don't say it. So we're going to be in a very, very beautiful space. But anyone still anchoring their thoughts or their actions to greed, to fear, to time, or to money will perish. They will not make that return to immanence. So everyone now has got to start policing their actions and their thoughts and their objectives and their intentions. Really police them. And for sure, your addictions, because if you're addicted now to synthetics, you are absolutely screwed. You will be irredeemable at a given point. Even the actualized plasma from the immanent flame will not have traction against the chemical demon that is trying to now claim huge swathes of the human family. So that's my last word on the matter.
Wow. So I want to take the next 5 or 10 minutes to let you talk about things that are important to you. I know we have your website, New Earth X, up here. So take some time. Let us know. I mean, we just had a wonderful conversation about a lot of it, but is there anything else that you want to push forward and make sure that you get that message out there?
Thank you. I really appreciate that. You're so kind. I love the way you interview, incidentally. It's such a rewarding exercise for me. I love your questions. I love your grace. Yes, newearthx.com is, for me, that is 0 point. That's where people have got to go, to newearthx.com. You see that pop up on the right, lower right, hit that. That takes you to the Ghost wallet. Go to that. This is what people must do. They must purchase the Ghost wallet. And I'm going to tell you why. Because if you get the New Earth X Ghost wallet, number one, you have the exchange coming on through that wallet system. It is biometric. It uses your facial recognition and your thumbprint. No one else in the world can access it once you've
Wow.
activated it through the exchange. And you can get your lawyer or your wife or your son or daughter to also have their thumbprint. So if anything happens to you, they have access to it. This becomes your bank, your financial world, your banking system, the exchange. Everything is available to you offline on this. And it cannot be surveilled or hacked by governments or by banks or by
Wow.
hackers. We've had a hackathon running for months. No one has managed to hack in to take the money that we offered and said, get in there and take it. Go and get the Ghost wallet. It is cheap at the price, but the point is once you've got it, it also activates a Visa card for you. You get the New Earth X Visa card. That Visa card you put into your tap and pay on your phone, and you can tap and pay your way with your airline tickets, cappuccinos, fuel, groceries, whatever it is. You tap and pay. Only use that card. Why? One, it is lower interest rate than any other card you're using. That's almost guaranteed. And most importantly, the bank fees, the transaction fees, every single time you tap and pay, we're putting those bank fees back into your Ghost wallet. And then the exchange is also taking a fee. So we're breaking up the bank fees and sharing them with the customer. And you can literally build up your own treasury in your Ghost wallet simply by spending your normal, the way you spend through life. And here's the fun bit. We've got a two-tier system, affiliate system. We do not want multi-level marketing. We have no interest in pyramid schemes, but we want to spread the commonwealth. So people purchasing the Ghost wallet, activating the New Earth Visa card on their telephone for tap and pay, they can also bring friends and family in under them, or their football club, or their local church. You're doing everyone a favor because it's lower interest than any other card they're using. And you can now build up a treasury for the church, for that sovereign kingdom, for your company. If you have 200 employees, get them all simply to switch onto that card. We'll do a white label for people. If you've got a community, we'll white label you as an affiliate, bring friends and family, and you have a passive income starting immediately. And the more people you proselytize and bring into this 0 point commonwealth form of basic banking, which is what you're doing anyway, you're just giving it all to the banks in Switzerland.
That's
Give
right.
it back to yourselves, your community, and to the New Earth Exchange, which is the people's treasury.
I knew nothing of this. I didn't talk to you about it at all. It's like fascinating. So you can use this as your bank and just take it instead of taking your credit cards with you, your wallet.
Yeah.
All you need is this little dongle, right?
Well, the dongle is the bank. It's what activates. It's your everything is in there, and it's step 1, 2, 3, 4. Like the crypto bank is there. The fiat bank goes online. All of that's being launched in midsummer. So the third quarter of this year, all that goes online. The last quarter of this year, the trading and commodities goes online. The Ghost wallet here is step 1. Getting the Visa card, the New Earth Exchange Visa card is step 1, because that's how you start to tap and pay your way through life, which you're doing anyway, but bringing some of those dividends back into your Ghost wallet. Nobody can surveil your Ghost wallet. So if you are dealing with a lot of money, you should transition your fiat to USDT, which is the standard backbone digital currency, and then back your Visa card with the USDT. And from that point on, you are invisible to banks, governments, and everyone else. And you have no need to declare anything because you're out of their world. Now, if you've got millions of dollars, bring it into that world. Start buying and trading and doing everything through the exchange and through that Ghost wallet. You will never be surveilled or held in compliance with the satanic fiat system again.
I love
You are
that.
now you've cut the cord. Our team, members of
Yeah.
our team, are only living on their Ghost wallets now. They don't have anything to do with the normal banking rails.
So this is good for the average person like myself.
For everyone. That's why I'm saying everyone must get the Ghost wallet. And then our team will onboard you. We're doing a harder launch in about 10 days' time amongst the New Earth network, because I haven't even done a hard launch amongst New Earth yet. We've got Scott McKay, Michael Jaco, others on, Michael Tellinger. Super excited, Michael Tellinger, about this, because he's one of the lead guys in exposing the bankers. And Michael is getting ready to launch the Ubuntu and One Small Town Ghost Wallet in a couple of weeks' time. But right now, anyone can go get it, check out the FAQs there, reach out to the team, and they'll do a FaceTime real-time call with you and help onboard you if you're having difficulties.
Oh, yeah, you got a lot of FAQs here too. Wonderful. That's brilliant, Sacha. I mean, to escape that whole system is wonderful to be able to do that.
Carolaan, the reason why for me I'm so passionate about it is I've worked out the mechanics of how it is that we step out of the kingdom of the devil. We've got to start with the way in which we are transacting on a minute-by-minute basis. Once we own our own prosperity and abundance and capacity to transact and move freely unmolested, that's the point at which we free up ourselves from wage slavery. That's the point at which we can sit on the grass and actually study our navel. That's the point at which we can activate our flaming of consciousness and then move into reconnection with the divine. So it's all about unwinding that Gordian knot of programming. It starts with a ghost wallet and the exchange. I'm telling you now, newworthx.com, X marks the spot.
Great. Well, I'll be sure and share that in all the social media platforms where this is, to make sure folks can head on over to that website. Sacha, it was just a blessing to be able to speak with you today. And I hope at some point in the future, you can think of us and come back. Anytime you want to talk about something important to you, it's always in my heart, and my invitation is open to you always.
Well, I'll agree to it only if you ensure that happens within the next calendar month, and then I'll be back on your platform, and let's take this further and bring in FAQs. I would love to, frequently asked, bring in audience participation questions. I would love to volley with you more.
I will.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sacha. It truly is a blessing, and I will be in touch with your assistant to coordinate that.
God bless you, Carolaan. Thank
you. So much love, Sacha. Bye-bye. Oh my gosh, that was just amazing. I literally have and could listen to him for hours. Thank you, everyone in the chat. You guys rock. I always love feeling your presence. Thank you so much, Ku Thunder, everybody. You guys make my day. I love seeing and feeling your presence in there. It means so much to me. Thank you so much. God bless and have a wonderful and blessed weekend. And I will see you next Wednesday. Thank you, Heidi. So much love to you, dear friend. Please have a wonderful and blessed weekend, each and every one of you. So much love to all of you. See you next week. Take care. God bless.